For over 1,000 years, the British monarchy has existed as a symbol of leadership and authority across the British Isles and globally. However, it wasn't until 1066 that William the Conqueror won the Battle of Hastings and became King of England that the monarchy was instated to the current shape that it is. Therefore, for this video, I will study the monarchies that followed from William the Conqueror's leadership. This means that the British monarchy has existed in its current form for the past 960 years. Throughout these 960 years, the monarchs of Britain have not only acted as global symbols of power, but also, often, as awful murderous tyrants. In this video, I will decide the top 5 most murderous monarchs. So I ask the question, which monarch was the most murderous? To begin with, I'd like to name some dishonourable mentions. These are the monarchs that could have made the top 5 if they were just a little bit more murderous. Charles I became King of England from 1625 until he was executed in 1649. Across his reign, he preached the importance of the divine right of kings and was perceived as a tyrannical, absolute monarch. During this time, he fought English and Scottish powers in the English Civil War, resulting in the death of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. To name a slightly more modern king, George IV ruled as King of the UK and Great Britain from 1820 to 1830. He was seemingly regarded as witty and popular during his younger years, but became one of the most despised rulers during his reign. He kept many mistresses and heavily mistreated his wife, Catherine of Brunswick. As well as this, he led the British forces against France during the Napoleonic Wars that claimed 3 to 6 million lives. When I first thought of this question, my mind went first to the House of Tudor, a family who was so evil and deadly that I've already made a video on who the worst member of the family was. In that video I decided that the worst Tudor ruler was King Henry VIII, and he will be mentioned alongside Mary I later in this video. However, Henry VII also deserves a mention. Henry VII became king in 1485 until his death in 1509. His approach to governance was very violent and brutal. He relied on executions to suppress political opposition. An estimated 50,000 people were executed at his hands. As well as Henry VII, Elizabeth I also performed many vile actions during her reign as Queen of England, as she executed over 200 people during her reign in an effort of restoration. Now, let's get into the top 5. The 5th most murderous monarch was Edward I. Edward I became King of England in 1272 until his death in 1307. His rule was defined by his want to bring back what he saw as English land that had been stolen. By doing so, he began a conquest of Wales which sent shockwaves through the nation, causing a devastating effect on the people, a war that was very lengthy and brutal and resulted in many deaths. The 4th most murderous monarch was Richard Lionheart. Richard I was King of England from 1189 until his death in 1199. He was nicknamed Richard Lionheart because of his reputation as a great military leader and warrior. Richard of course attributed to a lot of killings on the battlefield across his lustrous career as an army leader. As well as this, once he became queen, he was a tyrannous leader, showing anti-Semitism from the get-go when he flogged and stripped Jewish leaders who brought him gifts. He also incited violence against Jews after his subjects took it upon themselves to attack the Jewish population, following a rumour that Richard ordered the murder of the Jewish population. As well as this, during Richard's Third Crusade, he committed the massacre of Ayodhya, where 2,700 Muslim prisoners were executed. The 3rd most murderous monarch was Bloody Mary. Mary I reigned as queen from 1553 until her death in 1558. She was the 4th Tudor monarch to reign. Mary developed the nickname Bloody Mary due to her devout Catholicism. Her strong faith led her to commit Marian prosecutions, an array of executions that led to the death of at least 280 Protestants in an effort of reformation. This figure could be an underestimation, however, with many accounts noting up to 300 executions in just 3 months. In a reign of only 5 years, this is a staggering figure. In addition to this, Mary I committed these executions in many vile ways, such as hang-drawing and quartering, or most notably burning. The 2nd most murderous monarch was William the Conqueror. William I was the first Norman king of England. He reigned from 1066 after winning the Battle of Hastings until his death in 1087. During the Battle of Hastings, thousands of Anglo-Saxon men were killed to begin his murderous reign. He also consolidated his power in brutal and violent ways, most notably through the Harrying of the North. The Harrying of the North was a series of military campaigns that William began during the winter of 1069 to 1070 to squash northern rebellions. The campaign was savage and often regarded as genocide. This is because he had his soldiers destroy and pillage the northern people's homes and ordered that crops and farm animals were to be burnt, leading to more than 100,000 people dying from starvation and people resorting to cannibalism for survival. Before I unveil the most murderous monarch, I'd like to thank you for watching and encourage you to like and subscribe. It's free and I'd appreciate it a lot. So without much further ado, the most murderous monarch is Henry VIII. I think it's quite unsurprising that I've named Henry VIII as the most murderous monarch. His bashful and murderous nature is one of the most memorable aspects of the British monarchy. Henry ruled as king from 1509 until his death in 1547. Across his reign, he has been estimated to have executed between 57,000 to 72,000 people, least of all 3 of his own wives. Henry famously married 8 different women, 3 of whom he executed and two for which he legalised divorce. Henry also fought an 8-year war against Scotland that was dubbed the Rough Wooing. An estimate of over 10,000 people were killed during this lengthy war. Seemingly, Henry VIII had very little care for his subjects' lives, and the statistics of how many people he murdered show this. Finally, I'd like to thank you for watching and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to check out similar videos, I've got a few uploaded on the channel. I'd like to remind you to subscribe and like, and if you disagree with any of my opinions made in this video, leave one in the comments.